I do think that the statement that Senator Stebbin made this morning is compelling, and I do think there is an arc of history on today's debate. And I do believe that this debate starts with that old promise that we talk about a lot in this room, which is we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal. And I think if you look back, there have been seminal moments in the debate in this country about what that term equal means. And there have been good folks who have come down either side of that question. You think about in 1776, you think about the founding of this nation, you think about all the folks who said it is crazy to believe that actually non-landowners, regular folks, ought to be allowed the right to vote. We know these people clearly can't govern themselves. They don't have the training, they don't have the breeding. To extend the franchise to them would be a catastrophe. You think about the debate about the 13th and the 14th Amendment, about whether or not, in fact, all people include slaves, and about the folks that wrung their hands to say, if we extend the franchise one more to these people who are not real citizens, who have not really demonstrated the ability to govern themselves, what will happen to this country? You think about the debate about the 19th Amendment, about the question of could women vote. I was looking this morning at old anti-suffrage posters that said, you know, if we allow women to vote, they will stop doing all of their domestic duties, and wouldn't that be terrible? You think about maybe my ability to vote is what makes me not do my domestic duties. You think about even the debate around the Brown versus Board of Education. Or think about 1969. Most folks in this room were alive in this country in 1969, when in the state of Virginia, it was still illegal for a white person and a black person to get married. And it wasn't until the United States Supreme Court came in on Loving versus Virginia and said, actually, we think equal protection means equal protection. Those are all moments in history that many of us are probably not proud of now to look back at. But what we are proud of was that at those moments, there were good people who stood up and had that hard conversation and said, we believe on balance, all are created equal means all are created equal. So I want to close with a story too, Senator Stebbin. And the story I want to tell is about the very first time I stood at this podium. The very first time I stood at this podium was the day that I was sworn into the state Senate. And when I walked down to take the oath at this podium, I stood right here. And the person who stood right there was Pat Stedman. We walked in with Courtney and I, my wife and I, and Dave and Pat. We hugged in the back of the room. Senator Stedman actually brought me a corsage, which I had forgotten. Score one for the stereotype that heterosexual men are less thoughtful. I had not thought to bring a corsage. We both put on our corsages, we both walked down, and we stood on opposite sides of this podium, and we both took the same oath on the same Constitution. And we walked back out down this aisle, and we hugged our significant others, and we went off to lunch with them. And it was crazy to me that as we stood on either sides of this same podium, we talk about bringing equality to the rest of the state. And right here, at this podium, you and I were not the same on that first day. Because we stood next to a bank of laws that continue to say, we take the same oath, we wear the same tie, we argue in the same well, we wear the same corsage, but we're ultimately not the same people. I was proud to stand next to you the first day that I stood at this podium. And I'm proud to stand next to you now. And I'll be doing it every day from here forward. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Johnston.